Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Dallas Live, and I am your host, Dr. RC. The number to call is 469 258 7652. Today we have a featured guest, Nelson Trout. Nelson Trout is a singer songwriter, having written over 300 songs and released four full length CDs. One of his compositions is a state theme song for the state of New Jersey and is a great example of how someone can turn their life around and find a whole new joy in living after recovering from drug addiction. Nelson is also the author of a book called Blood on the Ceiling, The Awesome Calamities of Addiction and the Miracles of Recovery. It is available now as an e-book and also print on demand at Amazon.com, Barnes& and Noble, iBooks, and other major book distributors. Last month, the book was released as an audio book at Audible. Nelson, welcome to the program.
Robbie, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be with you.
All right, very good. Nelson, let's talk about your life other than addiction. Your life as a singer-songwriter for a couple of minutes. Where you were born, what did you do in the early part of your life, what are you doing now in your career, and where are you going from here? What's in the future for you?
Well, Robbie, I'll start with the last question. In the future, I just had another book released. The title of that is Raven April. That's a psychological thriller. That's a novel. And now we'll get back to my music career. I had a 30-year music career in the South Jersey, Atlantic City, Philadelphia area. And I also wrote theme songs for radio programs and television shows around here and things like that. And then I worked for 25 years at a regular job, working on aircraft engines.
What do you mean? What do you mean by aircraft engine? Are you a certified mechanic?
No, as a matter of fact, I was a painter.
Oh, okay, okay.
I was a painter. Would paint. And after that, they closed and moved down to Texas. So I was out of a job. So I got a job with the city of Millville, where I live. And it's there that I had an accident. I fell out of the truck and I broke my back and I broke my neck. And that's the time that I started taking opiate-based painkillers like Percocet and things like that.
Oh, okay.
And I got dependent upon them, and that's what made me leave and go to rehab to break the habit.
Well, I downloaded your book from the Amazon as a Kindle version, and the book is a pretty good book. I could not put it down. I read cover to cover on the very first sitting. Okay, and you have covered not only about yourself but also a number of other folks that were drug addicts, and there are some problems, and some of the calamities were really bad, and the story is no holds barred. I mean, you showed in your book how horrible it is for some of them, almost all of them, and also there is some hope is that some of them were able to recover, like yourself, and be able to go on and lead a productive life. What I would like to talk about today, we will talk on the four segments. On the first segment, I want to talk about your life experiences in how you got addicted, and what was the result of your addiction. When did you actually able to figure out, hey, listen, I am now addicted, I got to do something about it. What kind of rehabilitation you went through, and what is the final result. So let's talk about this on this first quarter of our interview. Go ahead and tell me. You just told me, you just alluded to the fact that when you had an accident at a work site, you had you broke your back, and your neck was broken, and you started taking narcotics, and from that point on it started. Is that correct?
Yes, Robbie. After my accident, for the pain, I had a lot of pain and things like that. The doctors prescribed me painkillers, Percocet, oxycodone, things like that. That I really didn't need at the time.
Uh-huh.
But some people, such as myself, can get addicted to these things, and I didn't know that, and I
No,
wound
not
up.
some, and I would say that the vast majority of people under right conditions, like what you conditions that you had. See, I had a lot of experience as a scientist in this field, especially painkillers. And I understand that if you give anybody, even if they don't have any predisposition to getting addicted, but if you put them on this kind of drugs for a longer period of time, sooner or later, most likely sooner, they will get addicted to it. Okay, so
Yes,
you got addicted to it. Then what happened?
well, yeah, you're right. They're very easy to get addicted to. Well, I kept trying to quit taking them on my own, and I just couldn't do it because it's a very painful to have a withdrawal for me is very hard. And so I knew I couldn't do it on my own. And so one night at midnight, I decided that I had to make a decision. So I called a drug rehab facility, and they got me in there the next day. And I'll tell you, Robbie, as soon as I walked in there, being a writer, as soon as I walked in the door for the first time, I knew I had to write about it to let people that have never been inside of a rehab to tell them what goes on and what goes through people's minds and how they wound up in rehab. And that's why the book is so brutal and so honest, because I kept it real. And that's why it got published, and it's doing well, because it not only helps people make a decision to get into rehab or help a loved one to get into rehab. This book was written for them, but it had to be real, and so they could understand. And you always have to understand that you're not the only one.
That's
Many,
right.
many people have
That's right.
all
Now,
different.
what I noticed in that book is you did not sugarcoat any of the experiences of either yours or other people who were admitted to those rehab facilities. You said that in your book you had twice you went there, one for a short period of about 15 days and then a second time around. So why did you go two times?
Oh yeah, well that was extended care. I went for 14 days to one facility. I can't mention them because of anonymity.
Okay.
But that was up north. That was up north, and then for an additional 35 days, I was flown down to a rehab for extended care in Florida, and they really helped. Both rehabs helped. In the first rehab, I had to go through a couple days of withdrawal, and I'll tell you, and detoxing, and I'll tell you that's a very, very difficult thing.
I do have some experience from the other side, from the clinical side, how the detox works and the horrible effects of detoxification and what the patient goes through. Because they were taken off this, most of them go, almost all drugs, pretty much they go through some sort of seizure and severe pain and addiction, sweating and all kinds of things. Um,
Right.
I mean, it's
That's why.
horrible to watch it.
Yeah, that's why if you are taking them and you try to quit, don't just try to quit cold turkey, because it could kill you. Like you said, it could give you seizures, and it could give you you can stop your heart. So
Correct.
you have to do it. Either have to go away to rehab, or you can wean yourself off of them. If you talk to a doctor and tell him the exact truth, he will put you on a program to wean you off of them. Um, and if anybody out there, this book was written really to help people, and it's
Uh huh.
helped thousands of people, and I'm very proud of that.
Oh,
As
good.
a
Very
matter
good.
as a matter of fact, in the back of the book, there's a phone number, a hotline, that anybody that feels like they're having problems, or they have a loved one that's having problems. There's two phone numbers in the back of Blood on the my book, Blood on the Ceiling, and I can tell you the numbers now.
Yeah, go ahead and tell our audience what is the number.
They're 800. 662-4357.
Now this number, this is a what is this number for? Detox?
This number is a hotline that'll help you find a place to go if you or a loved one or somebody is is having problems with addiction. There's a lot of information in the book about things like that, but that number there is nationwide. That'll get you can call that from any place in the country.
Okay. Yes,
And
coming back to the treatment and addiction, that is towards the later part of the whole story, the whole thing. At the early part, you start getting addicted. Now, there was one question that came to my mind: is there any predisposition to addiction? For example, when reading through your book, one thing that I noticed is most of the guys who came there for addiction had either physical, emotional, sexual, or psychological abuse when they were young children or in their teenagers. Now,
yeah,
there is a small percentage where they came from a nice, loving family. Father and mother didn't have addiction. They were not alcoholics, but that's a very, very small percentage. But the vast majority of the folks that I noticed in your book were pretty much had some kind of emotional, physical, or sexual or psychological trauma that they suffered at the early age of their life. Uh,
you are exactly right. Most problems like this start in childhood, as a matter of fact. And some people believe now that have been studying this that addiction is a disease, and through genetic testing you can find out if you're prone to go
uh,
towards addiction for
uh,
things that have, people go for drugs to forget things, to forget bad things that happen to them in their lives.
right.
And you're so right. So many of the people I interviewed 100 people, and I think 34 or 35 wound up in the book. And it's just incredible some of the things that they went through before they finally came to realize that they had to get into a rehab or go to AA meetings, Alcoholics Anonymous.
Okay.
They're very good to go to if you'd like to stop drinking. There's NA, which is Narcotics Anonymous, and there's places in every town and city has an AA organization that you can get in touch with. No matter where you live, you can find an AA. But like you said, most of the people that wound up in rehab had gone through some kind of trauma as a child or as a young adult.
Yeah,
And
that was a common theme that I noticed in your book. Um, you know,
yes, a lot of them. I didn't write this too much in the book, but a lot of the females that were there and males had been sexually molested as children, or they had been around a lot of drug abuse, or they'd been around a lot of violence, or they've been bullied, or they've been put down. You know, and like you said it perfectly. That they most of them have been through some kind of trauma.
right.
It's very true.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I noticed that is a very common theme there. Now, the next question I have for you, the name of the book, Blood on the Ceiling. I know why you came up with this name. Can you tell our audience why you
Yeah.
came up with the name, especially the girl that you interviewed, and what happened to her, and how the blood got on the ceiling?
Oh yeah, sure. I came upon this title when I was interviewing a young girl, and she was telling how she was giving herself a needle, a mixture of heroin and speed, in her bedroom, and she got a clot in the point of the needle.
Mm-hmm.
So she took it out and tried to push the clot through, and she pushed the clot through, and along with a lot of blood. And when she was telling me the story, she said there was blood on the ceiling, and it just struck me right there that had to be the title. As a matter of fact, on page 10, in the second paragraph, you'll see that's where she says it.
Yes,
page.
I read through it. You know, it's right. It says right there that when she pushed the plunger through the barrel of the syringe, you know, to get the cloud out of the syringe, you know, it just splattered all over. It went through the ceiling through the fan that was spinning there, and then there was all blood all over the ceiling.
Right.
Yes,
And I thought, I thought the title would catch some people's attention, and also it's just like all the book. I made sure that everything was true, and when she said that to me, when I was interviewing her, I couldn't believe it because I said to myself, I said that's got to be the title.
absolutely. Great title, a great book. The book is available at Amazon.com as a Kindle version. And also in the book, Nelson is talking about the drug addiction hotline 800-662-4357 that you can call from anywhere in the US. And also he talks about the Alcoholics Anonymous and Narcotics Anonymous. Well, you know, the first 15 segments just passed by before we knew it. I know there was one song that I liked. You know, I got the collection of all your songs, by the way. And the one song that I liked, even though it's, you know, I may not have been played before in our show. It's the battle. When did you write this song, the battle?
Oh, the battle!
Yes.
I wrote that song many years ago because there was a record company that was looking for songs about addiction. So I wrote the
Okay.
battle.
Hold on. Hold your thought. Hold your thought. Here's what we are going to do. We are going to play this music. Okay. And then when we come back after the break, after the music and commercial break, you are going to tell our audience all about this song. Ladies and gentlemen,
Okay.
you are listening to Dallas Live. I am your host, Dr. RC. Let's play the song, The Battle, and then we will be right back.
I fought a long losing battle with the bottle last night. Held my ground for the first few rounds. Thought I would win.
Nelson,
Yes, I can't hear the song.
you may not be able to hear it, but our audience will be able to hear it. Okay? Okay.
Pardon?
So our audience will be hearing it. They are hearing it right now.
Okay.
Okay.
Losing battle with the bottle again last night. At first I came out swinging like a champ, bobbing and weaving like Muhammad Ali. And when the jukebox played, I danced